What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another Good Morning Tottenham. Not going to lie, it is a bit of a slow news day today, as you can see by the title. But the first bit of, before we get into the news, how are you, Sim? How are you? You excited for the season?
Not far away.
Not long to go now.
Not long to go. Are we ready for the season? That's the question. I think pre-season's actually been a bit more positive. Then a bit positive. I think we've played well.
Not as positive as Darren Bent's 18-goal pre-season.
Not that positive, but I think we've seen something from how we've set up so far that maybe can get us a bit excited. Maybe can get us a bit of that what if. What if we catch City on an off day? What if actually Nuno has got our fitness right and we can start outrunning the opposition again? What if we can get the best out of Lucas Moura up front? What if Son can do his usual role against Man City? So, as much as I'm not confident that the defence...
What if Eric Dyer can do his usual role against Man City?
Yeah. Am I confident that our backline can hold up against Man City? Not particularly, but... maybe we can catch Man City on an off day. They had a slow start to last season, and maybe
didn't look great in the Charity Shield.
And they've got players. De Bruyne's out, Foden's out. Sterling's still coming back from the Euros. I don't think he's played yet in pre-season. Walker, I don't think he's played yet in pre-season. So they got players coming back from the Euros as well. So I think there is a chance we can get a result on Sunday. We'll get into that later, I guess, in the week. But I do think that there's hopefully with Romero coming in, that's definitely step in the right direction in the transfer market. So maybe there is some positivity yet to come through in this window. If Kane signs a new contract and puts to bed any chance of leaving this summer, I think that would be extremely positive.
What would you rate our transfer window as it stands right now? Let's say, make the assumption that Kane stays for the rest of the season. What rating would you give the transfer window?
Right now?
If it's shut today.
If it's shut today, probably a 5 out of 10.
Yeah, I think I'd go even lower than that, 3 or 4 for me.
Yeah, you can't. Right now is nowhere near enough. Still having Sissoko, Aurier on the books. Still, not having a replacement for centre mid or right back as well. It wouldn't be enough for me. It just wouldn't be enough to go into the season confident we can achieve our goals.
Essentially, we're weaker off than we were last season. So, as it stands, we are. We don't have a replacement striker. Toby Alderweireld's gone. Lamella's gone. Attacking option off. And we've only brought in Bryan Gil, which remains to be seen how long he's going to take to bed in, and Christian Romero, who's come a bit injured as well.
Yeah, he's come a bit injured, but that's not going to affect us for the whole season. It's a niggling injury, so I think he'll either miss Man City and be back for Wolves, or he might even be fit for City. We don't know, but unlikely.
Let's hope so.
Do I think we're worse off? I think on paper we are, but I don't think we actually are. I do think we're better off right now, because I think people see things sometimes very black and white in that sense, but maybe they don't take into account the fact that Nuno could potentially improve the players who weren't performing as well last season. And if he can do that, which I'm hopeful he can, then I think we're better off. Even right now, as we stand, I think we're better off than we are last season.
What's the bare minimum for you from now to the end of the transfer window? The absolute bare minimum for us to, let's say, make a top 4
to make a top 4 challenge, I think we need to get rid of Aurier or Sissoko and get a right back and a centre back in, and a centre mid. Sorry, probably get rid of to make top 4, we need to get rid of one of Sanchez and Dyer and bring another centre back, and then we need a striker. That's the bare minimum for me to make a top 4 challenge.
Centre back, right back, and striker. No centre mid, no attacking player.
And centre mid as well.
And centre mid. So 4 players.
Yeah.
And 2 out, you're saying? 2 out. 4 in, 2 out.
3 out.
3 out.
Sissoko,
Aurier, and Sanchez.
Sanchez or the one of Sanchez or Dyer, probably Sanchez. To make a top 4 challenge, that's the bare minimum. If we want more than that, you probably want another winger or creative player in the mix. You probably want to get rid of Doherty and get another right back in there. And then maybe you're thinking they could be you can aim higher than 4th. But I think if we do that bare minimum, maybe I think that's what you need to challenge for 4th.
And do you think we'll do that?
No.
What do you think we will do?
I reckon, which is why I think we're going to fall short of top 4. I reckon we're going to. I don't know why I've got this feeling, but I've got a feeling.
You know exactly why you got this feeling.
Yeah, I've got for Daniel. I reckon we're keeping both Sanchez and Dyer, and it's just going to be Romero. I reckon we sell Aurier and get in Tomiyasu, and I reckon we sell Sissoko, and we probably view Skip as his replacement. I reckon, and I reckon Kane stays. And do we sign another striker? I don't know.
So you think the only player we'll bring in from now to the end of the window is Tomiyasu?
I hope I'm wrong.
Really? You think that's the only player we're going to bring in?
Depending on outgoings.
Yeah. I mean, with all this talk about how we've put in a bid for 70 million for Martinez and all this kind of stuff, does that not show to you that we are willing and looking to spend more money this window?
Not if Kane signs a new contract, I don't know.
He's coming to play with Kane. Did you not read the memo?
I read. I'm trying to get everyone excited. I don't know. Maybe I'm not giving the board enough credit, but they always seem to let us down. Always seem to let us down. They give us promises and then they let us down all the time.
I get where you're coming from because we've been here, we've done that, we've got the T-shirt. But for some reason, I feel it's a bit different this window. I could be completely off the mark, but, every single year we fall for it, don't we? We fall for Enix games. We fall for Daniel Levy's tricks. And to be honest, I'm falling for it again. I'm not going to lie. But it's exciting at the moment in terms of putting 70 million bids in for Lautaro Martinez and stuff like that and being linked with the players we're linked with at the moment. But yeah, I guess you're right. I mean, we just need to take a step back and see what actually does come through the door and what actually does happen because we've seen it all before. Every
time it's like they get us excited about these potential bids and potential players, and then look how close we were. We were so close. If we didn't run out of time, if it wasn't for the image rights, if it wasn't for this or that, we would have got this player. And then we make a whole PR thing about how it was so close about getting this player, and then we end up not getting the player, and then we end up always short for the start of the season. I'm just sick of always believing the hype of these signings and them not coming off, and then end up being disappointed. And I just feel like a lot of the time maybe these prospective signings are just things put out to the press to try and get from a PR standpoint, try to look like we're doing stuff when actually we're not that serious about it. And it happens a lot.
Yeah, it does happen a lot. It happens literally over and over again with Tottenham Hotspur. Let's get into some of the headlines this morning. The first one is Tottenham in talks with Denis Zakaria. This is coming from a few different publications. The first one, CF Bayern last night was talking about it, and he says Tottenham are in talks with Denis Zakaria alongside Everton and Arsenal and a couple of Italian clubs too. Where else was it said last night on Denis Zakaria?
That was Build who want them. They're not the most. They're not the most reliable Build. But,
yeah, Build out in Germany. We're talking about it. CF Bayern, and there was one other I think that was talking about it that I can't see right now, but in terms of a signing, if he could we spoke about it last night in the Tottenham update, but if he could replace Moussa Sissoko, would that be a step in the right direction for you?
It would, but if it limits Skip, then I don't know if it's the best course of action. I'd rather give Skip minutes than sign Zakaria for 40 million if it's a choice between the two. Like with the players we have now, I guess you could see Højbjerg and Skip as like a rotation thing. You could see Lo Celso and Ndombele as a rotation thing. And then you got maybe Winks plus one other. So if he's in the rotation with Winks on for that third spot, if we've got midfield three of Zakaria, let's say Lo Celso and Højbjerg as a three, that's pretty solid. But I also could think Skip could be play that role which Zakaria is playing. I think he covers a lot of ground. I think he's a better passer than Zakaria. Zakaria is probably a better dribbler. He's probably a bit more physical. His passing is not the best, but it's not horrendous. But it's not. I think Skip's is better. He's got a better passing range. So there's a bit of give and take. But I just think would I rather give Skip more minutes or more games or sign Zakaria for 40 million and a bit of squad depth? I don't know. I think I'd rather give Skip more games.
Do you think? Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, do you think Zakaria is a bit overrated? at the moment because he's had a name as like an up and coming prospect for a number of years. The guy's 24 years of age, and Xhaka, he can't overplace Xhaka in the Swiss team.
Yeah, well, he's Swiss captain, isn't he, Xhaka? So, he didn't really get involved too much in the Euros. Zakaria, he's had a great time at Gladbach. I don't want to begrudge him that. He has had a good season as well. I just feel like I think he's an upgrade on Sissoko, but is he someone to take our squad to the next level? Like, I think Bissouma's a much better player than him.
Bissouma,
Kessie's a much better player than him.
There are many players out there who I'd prefer to sign over Zakaria.
Yeah, I don't think he would be a bad signing. I just think I think there are better options, and I also think that right now Ollie's skipping the squad. Like, if you're saying bring in Bissouma for 40 million, I would say, okay, I'd rather Ollie skips battling Bissouma because Bissouma's that great, I believe. But with Zakaria, I think if we're giving up minutes to skip for Zakaria, I don't think that's the smartest choice.
What about Anguissa from Fulham compared to Zakaria? Where would you rate him?
I think Anguissa's a different type. I think Anguissa is a bit more like Ndombele in a sense that he's not that strong defensively, but he's extremely strong dribbling ability and that kind of stuff. And he's got a better passing range. So I think Anguissa's a different type of player. He's a bit more of a I wouldn't say attacking, but he's a bit more of a possession, creative kind of midfielder than a deep line playmaker than Zakaria, who's more of a box to box kind of.
What about Renato Sanchez?
Yeah, I think Renato's much better.
Renato Sanchez, I mean, sure, wouldn't he not go for similar money than that? 40 million?
Probably. Yeah, I much prefer Renato Sanchez right now than Zakaria.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I mean, like, when you saw the two players at the Euros, it was night and day between the two players, because for me, Renato Sanchez was one of the players of the Euros. I thought he was absolutely brilliant. And, we did that one to watch video. You put Zakaria in your one to watch for Switzerland, and I took a close watch on him because of that. And
although I remember
he hardly started, didn't he? In the
there
Euros?
was one game, I can't remember. I think it might have been, was it against Wales? I can't remember where again where he came on and he actually played really well.
That was their first game, I think it was.
Maybe it was that game, but I can't remember. It
was their first game. He came on for the last 20 minutes and looked good.
And he was good. But
after that, he didn't. Yeah, after that though, he didn't really perform for the rest of the Euros.
Nathan Walker says Zakaria is 20 million, not 40 million. Well, if it was 20 million, then it's not I think, that's not terrible.
Yeah.
I think, if I'm right in saying, is he in his last year of his contract? Zakaria.
While you're searching that, I'm going to go through Dark Sun G21 Super Chat, and he says, I hope for 2 to 3 players, a right winger, a centre mid, a right back, and a centre back. 3 out of these 4, he's saying.
Yeah, he's got 1 year left.
Okay.
So maybe that makes him cheaper. Yeah, 40 million doesn't make sense for one player with 1 year left. Look, if he's available for a good price, and
even 20 million with 1 year left could be a bit expensive for him.
Or 20 million euros. So that's like 15 million.
Yeah, true.
I guess, look, Zakaria at 24 years of age, for that kind of price, I think it's probably worth taking a punt on him. If he's available, if we're not gonna, if it's between a choice between Zakaria for 50 million and then not getting anyone else, probably worth getting him in.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Let me just finish reading off this super chat. Dark Sanji says he's hoping for 2 to 3 players. 3 out of these 4 positions: right wing, centre mid, right back, and centre back. Hopefully get 2 transfers in the winter as well, and I hope to see White, Scarlett, Devine, and Sessegnon this season. I mean, I can't see us seeing White and Devine much this season.
Yeah, Ben White, I think, will probably get another loan spell. Devine,
Harvey White, you mean?
Sorry, Ben White, yeah. Harvey White, sorry. He'll probably get another loan spell after his one at Portsmouth last year. I don't think he's going to be involved around the first team. In terms of Devine, he might be too young to get a loan spell. How old is he? 16? He's younger than Scarlett, I think.
I think he's 17 now, yeah.
Maybe 17. So I think he's very, very young right now. So whether he's ready to get a loan spell.
He's already had a goal for us.
He has. Great goal against... who did he play like Marine?
Yeah,
great goal against Marine.
He literally just turned 17 last week.
So
he's born in 2004.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And he's playing for Tottenham Hotspur.
Spider there. What's going on? Spider attached to me. Ugh. Sorry.
That's going to be on We Are Tottenham memes later. 100%.
Looking forward to that. I don't like. spiders. I do not like spiders. At least it was a small one. Bloody hell.
All right, let's move over to the next headline. This is from Romano talking on his on Twitch this morning, and he says Arsenal are not in for Vlahovic, which is contrary to what Damasio was saying 24 hours ago.
Who's gone from in the lead in the race for Vlahovic to not interested in
Fidaru
Vlahovic.
says sign that spider. William Turing says Simeon about to be Spider-Man.
Oh shit! I'll let you know later. I'll see what's going on. I'll try and climb some walls. In terms of Vlahovic, yeah, I mean, right now, obviously, Arsenal have Lacazette, Martinelli up for striking position, and Aubameyang, who they like to play on the left-hand side. I'm shocked that they're not like seriously interested in another striker right now, because I think Lacazette has kind of flattered to see for a while now. He's never going to be that striker.
He's not, but he's still their most informed striker.
He is, but he gets like. He's going to get you between 10 and 15 goals, basically, which is decent, but is that enough to be a starting striker for a team that have top four ambitions or should have top four ambitions? Probably not. So I'm surprised that they're not seriously looking at another striker. They haven't really been linked with anyone. The only seriously player they've been linked with is like Ramsdale for 30 million. So
yeah,
I don't really get that.
Romano said last night that they're looking at Tammy Abraham. The deal with Atalanta, hasn't gone through yet, and Arsenal are still looking at him.
Roma apparently.
Sorry, Roma. I mean,
No.
The deal with Roma hasn't gone through yet.
Okay.
And Arsenal are seriously looking at him. Romano said that last night in a tweet.
That'll be, you know what? People say like talk about Abraham and say he's not great. I think that would be a decent signing for Arsenal. I think it would have shades of like when they signed Welbeck, to be fair, but I think he's a much better player than Welbeck. And you got to remember, it was only a couple of years ago he got like 17 goals in the league for Chelsea.
Yeah.
And he always seems to have a good goals to game ratio for Chelsea as well. So I think actually it wouldn't be the worst signing if they got Abraham.
He misses a lot of chances, in my opinion.
Yeah, but he gets
Tammy
goals.
Abraham.
He also gets a lot of goals. He does. He's quite a decent goal scorer. If they had Lacazette and Abraham, that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. I wouldn't mind Abraham as a backup striker.
I wouldn't want Abraham at Spurs.
I wouldn't mind Abraham as a backup striker. I think he's underrated, in my opinion. He's an underrated player. But anyway, moving on. We're talking about Vlahovic. He
scored 6 goals in 22 games last season.
Yeah, but he did. He did. But the season before, how many did he get?
He got 15 in 34.
It's pretty good.
Not for me, man.
That was pretty good
for an Arsenal level. Yeah, fine. But I wouldn't want him at Spurs.
I don't think he's a terrible backup striker.
And I don't think he would want to sit on the bench at Chelsea and then come sit on the bench at Spurs.
That's also another thing.
He wants to go somewhere, play week in, week out.
Anyway, we're talking about Vlahovic. I don't know how we moved on to Abraham. But talking about Vlahovic, yeah, if Arsenal aren't in for him, that's good news. And that's another one less team in competition for him. And hopefully, if Kane stays, we still go for Vlahovic, and hopefully we spend big money on him. I mean, my head's telling me it's unlikely. My heart's telling me it'll be. I
thought you were about to burst into some R. Kelly song just
no. My head's telling
my
me
body.
What's my body telling me? I don't know. What about
it's telling you yes.
But yeah, I think Vlahovic would be a fantastic signing, and I'm very surprised if Arsenal are able to get him. They don't go for him, but I don't know what they're doing this summer, Arsenal. But it's good.
I think that either way, I don't even think Arsenal should be such an issue for us. I think when you look at the two clubs right now, I think anyone would choose Tottenham over Arsenal, right?
You'd hope so. If they have brains.
In terms of...
Well, Arsenal probably offer bigger wages than Spurs.
In terms of the way the two clubs are going.
Yes, but if Arsenal offer money talks, and unfortunately, because we've fallen so far in the last 2 years, we are still ahead of Arsenal, but we're not as far ahead as we used to be. So if Arsenal do offer more money, there's actually a good chance he would choose Arsenal over Spurs.
I think that we're enough ahead for people to choose us instead of Arsenal. I think when you look at the two sides, how many Arsenal players get into the Spurs side right now?
I reckon Saka gets in on the right hand side.
Okay.
I reckon
Tierney maybe, left back.
Potentially Tierney. Yeah, probably. Yeah. Okay, I'll give Tierney a left back.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's literally it.
Yeah, because Son and Kane don't keep out their front two. Midfield.
So I'm saying that's literally it.
Who's in midfield? They got Xhaka
and Partey, let's say.
Does Partey getting ahead of Højbjerg?
Nah, Partey's been a massive letdown since...
I think Partey his best probably doesn't he? But
yeah, but he hasn't showed his best in the Premier League.
He's been injured for the whole time, hasn't he?
That's what I'm saying. Like Spurs, I think that, yes, we only finished a point above them in the league last season, but I think that was deceiving. I think we're a lot more ahead of them than that.
Yeah, but as in from that sense, we're ahead of them, but we're not actually like we're in the Conference League. They got no Europe, but like if things are neck and neck, we are both offering the same money. Yeah, they choose Spurs. But if Arsenal are offering more money, there's a decent chance I'd go to Arsenal. I think. Like, for example, if Chelsea are offering a bit less money than Spurs, there's still a good chance the player would choose Chelsea over Spurs because of Champions League and all this kind of stuff and growth. But it's different between Spurs and Arsenal. Yeah,
but also the way you look at it is like in the direction the clubs are going in. Like you can see clearly at the moment.
We're both
Tottenham,
on a downward trajectory.
I think, yeah, we are in terms of the last 3 or 4 years. We're in a downward trajectory, but I think in terms of, yes, we might be a bit worse off than last season. So you can say we're on a downward trajectory in that way, but there's a positive feel around the club right now.
Yeah, but players don't look at that.
There's a positive feel, and it looks as though, and it feels as though we are going in the right direction right now, as opposed to the last 2-3 years.
But players don't. Yeah, but players aren't Tottenham fans, so they don't know that. They only see the brass tacks of what they can see.
Yeah, and they would speak to the manager, they would speak to the chairman, look at the project that's going on.
Yeah, but each club are going to sell themselves. I'm sure they'll sell themselves in an effective way. And
it's very hard to sell Arsenal. I think it's easier to sell Tottenham than it is to sell Arsenal right now.
Well, you got to remember, as much as we rag on them, they're still a big club, aren't they? So, like they still got a bit of pull because of how many trophies they won and stuff.
I think their pull is getting less and less by the year.
I don't disagree with you. I'm just saying if Spurs and Arsenal are both in for a player, and Arsenal offered a more money than Tottenham, I think that player would choose Arsenal right now.
Depends. It depends.
I think that's true.
I'm not sure about that, but anyway.
You don't think the player would go for the money?
It depends. First of all, it depends how much money. First of all, and it depends. I do genuinely believe what I was saying before. Like it depends which direction the club is going in, and I feel Tottenham are on a slightly bit of an upward trajectory at the moment, and Arsenal it doesn't look like there's any sign of light at the end of the tunnel.
I don't disagree. I just think I think the gap was a lot bigger, and I think it would have been true. I think what you're saying would have been true 2 years ago. I just don't think it's as true now.
All right. Well, we've got some super chats to get through, and this is from Santosh Gunawarande, and he says Noni Madueke scored 2 for Ajax on the weekend. What's the highest we spend on him?
Against Ajax, not for Ajax. Yeah.
Against Ajax on the weekend. Do you think playing in the Eredivisie inflates his actual skill?
Probably a bit.
The latter, for sure.
Yeah, it must do. But I must say, his goals were taken extremely well, and Ajax are no mugs, despite the fact that in the Eredivisie, Ajax are a good team. You know, they always do well. They've done well recently in the Champions League and whatnot, and or Europa League. Like, so to do that against Ajax is very impressive. If you showed me it was like Den Haag he was doing it against, I wouldn't say anything. But because it's Ajax, even though it's in the Eredivisie, it's still impressive. Yeah, I think. Yeah, and it was 2 great goals, well taken. And you got to remember, he's 19. To do that at 19 as well, I know it was glorified Community Shield, but still impressive to do that.
And everyone kind of clowns on Vincent Janssen and use that an example of players coming over from the Dutch league. But look how much success we've had bringing over players from the Dutch league. Yeah. Christian Eriksen, Jan Vertonghen, Toby Alderweireld, and I'm sure there's more as well. So a lot of people try and say, like, yes, Eredivisie is like a lower class league, and it's very hard to make that transition from the Dutch league to the Premier League. But if you're good enough, you're good enough. You know what I mean?
That's it. It doesn't matter where you're playing. If you're good enough, you're good enough. That's the truth.
Yeah.
You know, Leipzig picked up Dani Olmo from the Croatian league, and look how good he is. You know what I mean? It doesn't.
We picked up Dele Alli from League Two, and straight away he started hitting the ground running.
Exactly. It's all about correct scouting, and just because he's done well in a league that you don't think is the best doesn't mean that automatically rules him out as being good enough.
I'm not going to sit here and say I watch him play week in, week out, and I know if he is good enough or not, because I don't. And I've only seen a few clips here and there, but I'm just saying that just because he's coming from the Dutch league, it doesn't mean automatically he's going to flop in the Premier League.
Correct.
We've got a super chat here from Bob Spur TV. Big up, Bob. And he says, I've said Abrahams would be perfect for a team outside the top 6, so suits Arsenal to the ground. I do think Martinelli is criminally underused. Yeah, I mean, I think we've spoken about Arsenal a bit too much on this stream already. So,
well, Tammy Abraham probably be about right to go to Arsenal. Matt Hayes says, "Good morning, gents. Are we going to get a Hayes we go today?"
Yeah, let us know. We want the Hayes we go. Come on,
I want a Hayes we go.
Good info. Grandpa's in the chat as well this morning.
What's Grandpa saying?
And he says, money is not the only need from incoming players. It's team values, caring managers, and the feeling of a great community. And I completely agree with that. Completely agree.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that was when we were at our strongest under Pochettino, when we had that whole team spirit. We had like the everyone fighting for each other, and that was what our biggest strength under Poch.
Yeah.
And unfortunately,
and that was Nuno's biggest strength in Wolves.
Yeah.
So hopefully he can recreate it here.
Yeah, that's I guess the idea.
Yeah, we got a comment here from Tot943 saying Bergwijn has been a huge flop. I mean, that's a bit over the top. A huge flop.
Well, I mean,
look, I know he's had a poor season.
It is a bit over the top, but he hasn't been good, has he? Like in general.
I think that he's had a poor season last year. There's no getting away from that. Yes, he didn't get a goal, but I do think that his first half of the season, he did some good work, and he was one of the better players in the team. You've got to say that.
Yeah.
Second half of the season, completely flopped second half of the season. But people are forgetting when he first came into the side, how positively he played in the first few months of his Spurs career, scoring great goals, scoring in big games. At that time there where Sonny and Kane was out, yes, he didn't help us win games and stuff like that, but he was definitely one of our best creative and attacking players.
Yeah. What you mean when he first broke into the team?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was. He was back then. I would say right now though, it's unfortunate, but I do think he's in the flop category, and he has to fight his way to get out of that if he wants to not be it. I think right now he's kind of in flop, and he needs to work his way to becoming a good signing.
I would never say I can't usually with a flop like Vincent Janssen, you'd be like, oh, get rid straight away. You can't see anything in this player, Vincent Janssen. But it's not like that. Like, you can see something in Bergwijn.
Of course, I don't want to get rid of him.
Like, you can see something in there. You can see there's a player in there. You can see he has good attributes to thrive in the Premier League. It's just something hasn't gone right for him in the last season. And I genuinely believe there is something in there, and I really want the Spurs fan base to be patient with him, because he's a young player coming over from a foreign league. Obviously, the pandemic hit, and there was stuff with his family, which he couldn't see his family for a long time and stuff like that. So I think that people need to be patient with him, and I think you'll see a better Bergwijn this season.
Yeah, exactly. Look, we signed him for the long term for a reason. We signed him as a young player, so hopefully this season, under a more attacking manager, he'll get more chances to flourish, and maybe we'll see the best out of him.
Yeah, definitely. If you guys want to call in and have your say on anything Tottenham related, the link is in the community section right now. So click that link and come and join us for a chat about Spurs. But let's get through some more of these super chats. This is from Martin Winter. Greetings from a Gladbach fan. If you get Zakaria, I hope he gets the form back he had before his injury. He was our best player, was fixed in the starting 11. So I never knew that he got a big injury, and he hasn't been as good now as before his injury, which is very interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, I didn't know that either. So maybe it's just a case of him fully recovering, and then Zakaria will be much better than we think he's going to be. Which is why I'm saying at that price, if it is 15 million euros, I think it's worth taking a punt.
Yeah, I mean, some players after a big injury never get it back.
That's the thing.
You never know.
Yeah, but at that price, it's worth taking the risk that he might, because what are you losing? You're losing 15 million. If it's 40 million, then obviously not. Don't do that. But if it's 15 and you're replacing Sissoko, you're not spending too much more than what you're getting out for Sissoko. It's probably worth doing it.
Okay. Moninder Singh says, "Good morning, lads from Toronto, Canada. Come on, you Spurs. Good morning to Toronto."
Good morning.
Good morning to Toronto. Let's get into the next headline. This is from an Inter publication, and they say we are holding an interest in Marcelo Brozovic. He's only got a year left on his Inter Milan contract.
Yeah, I believe he's 28, 29 now. Brozovic.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Brozovic, actually. I like him, but I just feel like he's, in a sense, fairly similar to like what Ndombele and Lo Celso could offer. I don't know if he could offer more than them in that sense. Like, you could argue right now he could be a slightly better player than them right now. But because he's got a few years more experience than them and stuff like that, he could come cheap, I guess. And he's not a bad player. He would definitely help add depth to the squad. I do think right now he's definitely a better option having Winks in there for sure, Brozovic. And I guess it wouldn't be a bad signing. He's also quite defensively solid. He was a stalwart of that Croatian team that got to the World Cup final. He is a good player. He is. And if he's cheap, I guess there aren't too many downsides to this deal. The only thing is, it doesn't really help refresh the squad because he's 28. You're probably gonna have to sell him in about 2 years' time.
Yeah.
Is it a player? He's probably on fairly decent wages as well. Are we better off spending the money elsewhere?
I think so. But with 1 year left in his contract, how much do you reckon he goes for?
I think he's a very good player. So they're probably going to ask around 20. I would assume they're probably going to ask around 20 million. But I like him. Like, if we're replacing Sissoko, Brozovic, that's pretty good. I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, I just can't see us bringing in 28, 29-year-old.
Yeah.
I just can't see it. I mean, I can't see us signing anyone over the age of 25, 26, to be fair.
I think that was the whole aim, is to lower the average age of the squad.
Yeah.
After it got way too high, after we were the youngest in the squad. So
yeah, we went from the youngest to the oldest, and now we're trying to go back to the youngest now.
Exactly. We're trying to get younger. It doesn't have to be the youngest, but yeah, we need to definitely lower that. And Brozovic doesn't go in that direction. But all I'm saying is, if we was to replace Sissoko or even replace Winks, like, that wouldn't be a bad thing. I think he's a much better player than them, and he would improve us.
Yeah.
There aren't too many downsides. The only downside is if it takes away from us getting other players that we really should be getting, or more priorities, and that's the downside. If we're spending too much resources on him, but I think he's a really good player. Good dribbling ability. He actually works really hard. Good in the tackle. He's got an eye for a pass. He's a good part of that Inter Milan team that won the league. He usually plays in the 3 as well, because they played that 5-3-2 system, Inter Milan. So he knows he could probably play in the 4-3-3 system as well.
Brozovic or Zakaria?
I think Brozovic is the better player. I think Zakaria is a more natural replacement for Sissoko. I think Brozovic right now would probably have his skill set more than we would have Zakaria's skill set in the squad. So in that sense, and seeing as Zakaria is 5 years younger, probably go with Zakaria if they have the same price. But I do think you're gambling a bit, because you're gambling he first will get back to his best, and you're gambling that in the long term he might be worth a bit more than Brozovic, because Brozovic at this stage his values only go down, but Zakaria's can still go up. But I think Brozovic is the better player right now.
This is an interesting comment here. Dirty Sanchez says Spurs are 60-1 to win the Premier League and 60-1 to get relegated.
So right down in the middle.
Which is a better bet?
Win the league, probably. Come on, we're going to win the league this season. I'm putting all my money on it.
What both of those bets mean is you put £10 on either of them, you lose £10.
Basically,
that's what it means.
Basically, that's what's going to happen.
Super chat here from Ewan Andrew says Stevie isn't a flop. He played a defensive role under Jose, gave his all for the team, decent pre-season, and plays for the team, not himself, unlike half of the players last season.
Look, if he left this summer, say we sold him, you have to say he's a flop, right?
Yeah, because any player you sell after 2 years is probably a flop.
No, not if they did well and you sell them.
Not if you're forced to sell them. Yeah,
exactly. So like Carrick wasn't a flop. We sold him after 2 years.
Yeah.
So I'm saying right now, this is what I'm saying. Right now, he's a flop, because if we sold him right now, He would have to say the
Is
transfer failed.
Is there no middle ground? It's either flop or success.
No, but
There's
he's
not.
a flop.
I'm saying that is there no middle ground?
There is a middle ground, but I don't think he hits that.
Really?
Yeah.
I think he does, though. I think he does.
I don't think he does.
I think the last 6 months of his of last season, was terrible. But I think, even though he didn't get a goal, he was still providing positively to the team.
I'm just saying, if we sold him now, you have to say the transfer failed if we sold him this summer.
It's...
So right now he's a flop. And right now it's up to the ball. Right now the jury is he's a flop, and he has to convince us otherwise. That's what my stance is. I believe he can. I like him, and I would keep him.
I just think it's harsh. I think it's harsh calling him a flop right now.
It's harsh, but football's a harsh game, isn't it?
I think it's harsh because, like I said, look, he hasn't got a goal, and that in itself is flop territory.
Exactly. We got one goal. We got one right at the end against Villa.
One goal. But I think that the way he provided to the team at moments in the season elevated him just above flop.
I unfortunately, I like Bergwijn. No, don't get me wrong. I like him. I think he's got a lot of quality, and I believe there are other reasons other than himself why we haven't seen the best of him. Unfortunately, right now, he is in the flop category. He has been a flop, unfortunately, since he signed.
I reckon the Spurs fan base is very split on this. Let's put it. I think actually we can put out a poll on this.
Can you? How do we do polls?
Just give me 1 second. I'll work it out. Carry on.
We're YouTubers, but we're trying to still work out YouTube. I don't know how to put a poll out. We'll try and sort that out for you. But as much as I want him to be, can we do it live in the chat?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. Can we see how many people voted?
I don't know. Let's have a look.
I just think I'm not saying he's going to be a flop by the time he leaves Spurs. I'm just saying if he left Spurs now, he would be considered a flop. That's my position on Bergwijn.
All right. The poll is there for you right now. You can see how many people have voted. Yes, you can.
All right. We've got 1,400 people. Everyone getting on the poll.
I want to know your opinions. Is Steven Bergwijn a flop? Is he not a flop? 66% saying no right now.
153 votes are in. We should be doing this more often.
Yeah, we should. I think it's a new feature.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, people, let us know in the comment section if you want to see more polls, but get voting first.
Yeah, everyone get voting. And I want to have a conversation with some of you guys out there. Use the link in the community section if you are a member to call in and have a chat with us. We've got another super chat here from Dark Sun G. Where is it gone now?
21 here it is. It says 4-4-2 Son, Kane, forward Lo Celso, Bergwijn, Højbjerg and Skip on the wing. Reguilon, Rodon, Sanchez and Doherty in defence and Golini in goal. My hope for a starting 11 for Man City. Mora and Gil as the sub. No, mate. I don't know about that. You want a 4-4-2 against City with you want Sanchez and Doherty and Lo Celso on the wing.
It's a recipe for disaster.
For me, you got to go how we've done in pre-season. For me, go 4-3-3. And you have to start Lucas, I think, in this game. You have to start him.
I think so. Another super chat here. Well, there was two that came in, but I couldn't.
He said, Dark Sanjis clarified, said Sanchez only if Romero is not available. And then Jensen Greenshield says, would Martinez, Lacroix, Dumfries, Tomiyasu, Zakaria, Damsgaard and Kane be enough for top four, or do we need more on top of that? Bloody hell, that's a lot to ask for, but that's Lacroix, Dumfries, Tomiyasu, Zakaria, Damsgaard, and keeping Kane.
Yes.
That would definitely put us in the conversation. Honestly, it wouldn't guarantee it. I still don't think.
I don't think anything can guarantee it with
how strong the other teams are.
Yeah, exactly.
Fair. But I definitely think that puts us in the conversation. That puts us in the conversation for sure. I'd still think, obviously, we'd need a bit of a backup for Kane. We're still lacking a striker in Kane. But I do think that would be more than enough to put us in the conversation. I just don't think that what you're saying, that's never going to happen in a million years, I don't think.
Miguel11 with another super chat saying Bergwijn had to play a more defensive role for Mourinho, and then Bale got fit and kept him out of the team.
Matt Hayes. Oh, sorry, what was that? Go on, say that again. Sorry, go on.
The super chat.
Bergwijn.
Yeah, it says Bergwijn had to play a more defensive role for Mourinho, and then Bale got fit, and then that kept him out of the team.
Yeah. Yeah, but I just don't think Bergwijn did enough when he was in the team attacking-wise to justify selection. I don't know.
And Matt Hayes here saying, Lacroix with Romero is a recipe for disaster. We might as well pack this season now if that's what we're going for.
Why? Why are you so... Wow, that's very...
I mean, do you not remember when we did the tier list? And I said that as well with Lacroix and Romero because they're both very aggressive centre-backs.
I think they would complement each other.
I think so.
Yep. I do.
I think
Lacroix and Romero, yes, they're very young and they're very aggressive, but they can learn off each other. And it might be bad in the short term. In the short term, you might have a point, but I think in the long term, we would be sorted for many, many years. I really believe that. I think them two together would be, would be a fantastic partnership. Two very physical, quick, aggressive, can both play on the ball, one left side, one right side as well. Yeah, you might see some short-term troubles while they're both, both young and they both have to take leadership roles and learn each other as a partnership. But I think it could be brilliant. I really think it could be brilliant.
Ooh, and Andrew with the super chat here saying, glad my moaning at Stevie flop situation resulted in the polls being discovered. Great content as always, boys. Keep it up.
Well, at the moment, as things stand, we have 581 viewers. 581 votes. Is Steven Bergwijn a flop? 34%. Oh, we have it on screen. Nice. 34% say yes, and 66% say no. Look, we've got over 1,400 people currently viewing. Let's get those votes up to at least 1,000. Come on, guys. Everyone go into the poll. Vote is Steven Bergwijn a flop. I want to see at least 1,000 votes. I want to see how that comes out. But at the moment, people are giving Bergwijn the benefit of the doubt.
Like me. I think he has to be given the benefit of the doubt. 620 votes now. Is there anyone waiting in the back end? Come on and have your say. Come on, guys.
We'll look at some tweets in a minute, but let's look at what Matt Hayes has also said. He said both are extremely tactically aggressive players. They each need a more pragmatic defender beside them. We'll have no centre backs if the two of them are together. I get that, but they're both tactically aggressive because of the system they play in. If you get them together under Nuno, I'm sure Nuno can teach them how to work together and how to be aggressive. And also, if that is the case, you could very easily play a very aggressive system because they both have pace to cover and get back in position if need be. If they are caught out of position, they could cover each other. So yeah, I get what you're saying. They could easily be caught out of position because they both like to press and be aggressive. But I think if you just get two centre-backs as talented as them, you could make it. Well, I really believe we can make it work.
So I think there's a potential to make it work, but I think that I kind of agree more with Matt saying he needs a more kind of one that will stay back and maybe a towering presence like a Milenkovic or someone like that. In the short term, to make it work straight away, yeah. But I'm saying as a partnership in the long term, I think you could definitely get that to work 100%. Potentially. 100%. I'm not even, no doubt about that. What else is there to talk about today? What about Lewis Bailey says, what about Koulibaly? Oh, yeah, obviously. I want Koulibaly. But like, he's 30 years old, right? Yeah. He's at Napoli still. Yep. Napoli aren't getting any better. Surely there's a way that you can price him over to the Premier League right now. He was going for, what, 80 million last summer? Yeah, I think that's probably dropped now. It must have dropped. It has to drop by at least a third of that price if we're going to be interested in him. Yeah, but do you not think it has dropped? What, to a third of that price? Yeah. How many years he got left? I don't know. Koulibaly. Yeah. I can't imagine it's dropped that much. I reckon it's still at least 50 million to get him, I would assume. Unless also they're having money troubles, which I know a lot of the Italian clubs are. He's got 2 years left. Mm-hmm. You can probably at least 40. I mean, I'd go for it. You'd have to be at least 40. I think it would be in between 30 and 40 million. And I think it would be worth it. At the moment, he's 30 years of age. I think he could still be a good centre-back for at least 4 years, I think, because of his physicality. Imagine him next to Romero. That'd be brilliant. That'd be brilliant. Of course it would. Of course it would be brilliant. We got another super chat here from Jensen Greenshill saying we won't get all the players but hopefully Don Paratici works his magic and gets maybe another 3 or 4, with 4 or 5 leaving as well. I mean, that's a big ask, isn't it? It's a massive ask. And Jason Greenshill has just become a silver member as well. Big up yourself, mate. Big up yourself. Jason.
All right, 763 votes. Let's get it to 1,000, but Bergwijn not being a flop, still in the lead, 67%. At the moment, 33%. Let's get to 1,000 votes, though. I want to see everyone in the viewers right now. Why are you watching it and not voting? It's free. You don't need to pay to vote.
What are you doing? What are you doing, guys? If you're not voting,
the chat and just vote. Just click. Even if you just click. Click a button. Have your say. Why would you not want your input? Come on, have your voice heard. Vote in the polls. Go vote. When every election is like, oh, go vote. That's always what people say. Come on,
go vote.
Go and vote. Come on.
Tottenham goalkeeper Alfie Whiteman apparently in talks with Swedish club Degerfors. I mean,
what a team.
But that means we won't have a third keeper going into the season.
We'll just have to be whoever's lower than Whiteman in the
Brandon Austin. Is it Brandon Austin still there?
Somewhere? No, I'm pretty. Didn't he go somewhere on loan again? I'm pretty sure we sent him out somewhere.
I mean, so there's no one else, is there? I don't even know who the keeper is.
I'm sure we have another keeper. Just get some 18-year-old to do the job. Third choice.
Brandon Austin plays for Orlando.
Yeah. On loan or transfer?
On loan.
On loan, yeah, I thought so. Yeah, I thought it was a loan deal.
His loan contract ends in December this year.
His loan contract ends in December, yeah, because that's the head league end, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, look, I'm sure there's a youth keeper we can just put there. It's unlikely they're ever going to play.
Yeah.
So, or we could, that's it. I don't think it's the biggest deal if Whiteman goes. It's what it is.
So you're losing the poll.
Well, I don't mind. I'm still confident in my opinion. I don't need public validation for my opinion.
Fidaruz Aziz says, "Stop scolding your viewers."
Well, vote then, and I won't have to scold you. It's free. Stop not voting. There's over half of you still. No, over half have voted now. Okay, let's get to 1,000 though. It's 882. Why haven't you voted? Just vote in the poll. It's nice. I like the more representative, more people vote, the more representative people's opinions. It's good. Should we look at some tweets, I guess, while we're waiting for all the votes to come in?
I'm just going to pop downstairs for a second.
Jensen says, what percentage of games do you think Golini will play?
Matt Hayes in the back end.
Maybe most conference and cup, like 5 to 10 Prem. I think he's going to play. I think you're pretty much spot on there. That's how I think Golini. I think he's going to play more probably Prem games than people give him credit for. I don't think he's going to oust Lloris as number 1 in the Premier League, but I do think he's going to get more than maybe 2 or 3. Maybe he'll get like about between 5 and 10 Prem games probably. Maybe I don't think he'll get 10. Maybe between 5 and 8, something like that. And then I think most conference and cup. I've got no doubt about that. He's going to be playing most of those games, unless it's a final, and then Lloris will probably come in for it, knowing how these things usually work. 950 votes now. Harry Singh on the tweet says, good for everyone if everyone Kane new contract with a release clause, another forward and 2 defenders. We won't get bullied by Ollie by Oil Slicks. I thought it was some play on Ollie Skip there. Oil Slicks COYS. I mean, it would be. Still rumours at the moment about the Harry Kane contract. We have to see if there's any truth to it. It's interesting that Ali Gold saying is coming from Harry Kane's camp and not from the Tottenham camp about this new contract, which makes a bit more weight to it, but. It would be the best for everyone if the deal it's only best for everyone if Kane is convinced that the City deal is not going to happen this summer, and then for him it is the best thing, because I think with the new contract, if you do put in a release clause, it gives him that assurance that if City meet the price next summer, he is going to be allowed to leave, and it gives him a bit of a pay bump for the following season, and it gives everyone peace of mind that he will be here into the next season. So. That's good. Spurs the best says, surely we should set a deadline, a Kane deal to be done this window, so we can either look for targets with that money we would receive. If not, I can see a deal being done late for us to bring in a replacement and have an awful start to the season. Yeah, I mean, I would love that to be the case, but knowing Levy, there ain't no deadline set around the transfer deadline, unfortunately, for Levy. So that's usually the case. We've seen it many, many times. He's willing to go down to the wire. So I think it was smart what Dortmund did last summer with Sancho. They put a deadline on it. I can't remember when it was, but it was before the start of the season. They said, if you're not going to sign him by this date, then he is not for sale. And then they passed the date. And try as they might, Man United, they made all these bids, but Dortmund said, look, you missed the deadline. We told you there was a deadline. You knew there was a deadline. You thought we were bullshitting. We weren't bullshitting. And we're not going to sell him now. And that's all we should have done. But it doesn't seem like we've done that. Or haven't publicly done that anyway. So
yeah, because Levy likes the last
He loves the deadline. He just loves the drama of the deadline too much. He lives for it. Can't remember who said it. I think it might be Redknapp said, Levy lives for the deadline. He loves it. And that's a problem.
Every single year we go into the season not ready. Every single year we have to wait until the end of the transfer window to get stuff done. It's so frustrating. I think that they need to make a universal rule for the transfer window to shut before the season starts around the whole of Europe.
They should, but unfortunately, the rest of the European leagues know that if they don't agree to it, then it's kind of, and if England agree to it and they don't, they have an advantage. So in a way, they're kind of never going to agree to it because they know they could get an advantage over the Premier League. And considering the Premier League have so much money over the other European leagues, there's not many advantages they can get. So that's kind of maybe how the other European nations see it.
Grandpa in the chat saying, send the poll to Nuno.
Send the poll to Nuno. Oh, over 1,000 votes. 67% say no. And 33% say yes. Doesn't look like that's going to be budging anytime soon. So that's the poll at the moment. I think we're going to be doing all these polls. I think this has been a rousing success, I would say, on the poll front. That's been good. 1,500, so still 500 of you to vote. If any of you want to vote, I guess we'll keep it running for a bit longer. We'll keep it running to the end of the stream. Why not?
Let's keep it running. But without further ado, let's get Mr. Matt Hayes on the show. Matt, how you doing, my friend?
I'm all good, lads. How are you?
Yeah, good.
Nice
thanks.
To see
good,
you,
thanks.
my friend. Nice to have you on. Are we going to get any Hayes We Goes today?
Not today.
We're wondering,
today,
waiting.
You'll be the first to know if there are any.
Yeah. You're not being on the phone to Paul Miller.
Oh, not Paul Miller.
How accurate do you think his other information was? Not just the contract he said about him being on Joe Lewis's what was it, resort in the Bahamas. If that's true, is that not also something to be of note? Because if Spurs knew about him being in the resort and everything, doesn't that also go against the narrative that they didn't know he was going to be back and all that kind of stuff?
I really don't. I just don't know what to believe at this stage. I don't. I mean, I'm still kind of the feeling that if Harry Kane hadn't been due back at the club on Monday when he reportedly was, either the club would have said something or Nuno in his post-game interview after the Chelsea match would have said something. Because that's the perfect chance to clear up what has become a social media storm around something that's really important for us, because you don't want this around your best player. And I saw a tweet a while ago saying, you know, there could be people booing our best player in the first game of the season when 3 points are at stake. And I think there'll be a few. But yeah, I just don't know what to believe. And like, even if he was in the Bahamas, wasn't he in Florida last week? So he left the Bahamas either on the Saturday or the Sunday or something. I know he had to isolate. The fact he went to Florida to isolate instead of going back home to isolate, it's just a bit. It's all a bit weird to me. But I just don't know what to believe at this stage. All I'm thinking is I want him to score a hat-trick against City on Sunday.
I mean, Nuno, every single interview, every single press conference insinuates that there has been a problem and there has been an issue. So, I mean, I kind of take not the side of, but I think that the truth is more coming out of the Spurs side than it's coming out of the Kane side. So, but at the end of the day, I think I want to call on every Spurs fan going this weekend to not boo Harry Kane. You can't boo him. You just can't. The guy is an absolute Tottenham legend. No matter what is happening right now, the guy is a Tottenham legend, and he's just trying to do what's right for his career at the end of the day.
Absolutely, he really is. And look, he may have gone about it the wrong way. And we can all disagree with that, but it looks like he's not going to get his move, and he is the most important player to our squad, whether he wants to be there or not. He is the most important player. He's the best player, and he's the one who could be the difference between being in a Champions League race or not this year. And I keep saying it, like I know everyone was saying he'd be really professional, he wouldn't skip training, and he wouldn't do this and do that. It looks like he has done that, but one thing you can guarantee is he's going to be professional on the pitch. And I have two reasonings for that, aside from the obvious. The first one is he wants that Alan Shearer record. He wants to be 260 in the Premier League, and you can't afford to sacrifice a full season if you want to beat that record. So even if it is just for personal reasons, he needs to go for it. And the second one is, at his age, as good as a player he is, if he has a poor season this year, it's very different between City now paid 160 million, or reportedly having to pay 160 million for a 28-year-old striker just off the best season in his career, the Golden Boot winner, the Playmaker Award winner. If he has a bad season next year, all of a sudden he's a 29-year-old striker who's a bit more of a risk, and he needs, I don't want to say he still needs to prove himself, but he needs to show that he's still as good a signing for Manchester City, because next year Haaland will be available for whatever it is, 60, 70 million. So he needs, I do think he still has a few points to prove.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Matt, now is a big question. Do you genuinely think there are legs in this contract story? Do you think there's an actual chance Kane could be signing a new contract this summer at Tottenham? What's your opinion?
I do, but I don't think it's in any way. I think if he does sign the contract, it'll make him more likely to leave next summer. And I know Alistair Gold said there won't be a release clause in there, but there's no way he puts pen to paper on a deal that doesn't give him an easier way out. And I do feel it would be a contract that'll have a huge signing on fee, a massive bump in his pay as well. But it will, all in all, make it easier for him to leave the club next summer. And I think it'll be beneficial to both Tottenham and to Harry Kane, because there could be something like, if we get Champions League football, he stays for another year or something like that. Realistically, we're not going to get that this season. But I feel like it's just something that will give him a nice little payday this season, protect Tottenham's financial interests next year or the year after, whenever it is, and also get Kane an easier way out when the time comes. But I think there is a lot of truth to this one.
Do you think the mood, if Kane does sign that contract, do you think the mood going into the season changes for Tottenham, and the whole mood surrounding Kane's future and all this uncertainty? Like, how do you think it changes if he does put pen to paper?
I feel like there'll be a split in the fan base with that one, to be honest, because there'll be those that kind of realise that it does make him more likely to leave next summer, and there'll be those that just are happy that he's put pen to paper. And I think the morale within the squad might be a bit different as well, in a better way, if you do have your prime talisman who's gone through all this in the summer, putting pen to paper and kind of showing a bit of commitment to the team, even if it is short term. I feel like in that side of things, it could be more of a symbolic contract signing rather than something that actually means anything long term, if that makes sense. But yeah, I suppose the details of the contract, whatever comes out, makes sense as well. If it is, if we don't get Champions League, if there's a tiny release clause in there, by tiny I mean relative, like 70, 80 million, then I think there will be a bit of frustration around the fan base, but I can't imagine Lee doing that. But yeah, I think it'll be a 50-50 among the fan base personally.
And in terms of incomings, we've spoken a lot about Lautaro Martinez. Do you think that's still a goer if Kane does sign this contract?
Yeah, I think, look, every report, bar, I think it was Matteo Moretto was the only one who said that Martinez will come in if Kane goes. Every other one has said that it will be Martinez to partner Kane up top. Now, I struggle to see where Heung-min Son fits into that team, but I know that's a conversation for another day. I think I'm still more confident this Martinez deal will happen than it won't happen. And I've said all summer that Kane will stay. So I think there is a chance that the two of them play up top. And the main reason for that financially, I suppose, is that Romero is on a loan deal, as we found out. We're paying that next summer. I think that's absolutely crucial. But you're looking at this situation the Inter Milan owners are in. I don't think anyone quite realizes the severity of this. Like their owners owned Jiangsu Suning in the Chinese Super League last season. They went on to win the league. They won it quite comfortably. I think beat Guangzhou Evergrande in the final, who are a really good side. And within months, they had liquidated and were completely gone. They're just not a team anymore because of the financial troubles that they had. And you're now looking at this Inter Milan team. Just so happens they won the league last year. That triggered a clause in their signing of Romelu Lukaku where they owe United more money. They already owe them £50 million for that. Obviously, Lukaku going now will probably cover the bulk of that, but they still have these other financial troubles. And they said, I think it was the 25th of July, Beppe Marotta, the CEO of Inter Milan, the last time he said Lukaku is non-transferable. Within 2 weeks, we had a here we go to Chelsea. I think Achraf Hakimi was expected to go, but we all forget that the reason Antonio Conte left is because he couldn't get guarantees that these players would stay. He'd given but in the midst of all this, he'd given the Inter Milan hierarchy a list of 8 players that he wanted guarantees that he could keep, and they couldn't give that to him, and said financially they just can't do it. They wanted to cut their wage budget by 15 to 20%. They wanted to raise at least 80 million in transfers, which seems to have risen dramatically by now, and Conte walked, and one of the players on that list was Lautaro Martinez. And if they're getting Duvan Zapata from Atalanta, if they're getting Edin Dzeko from Roma, there's another striker mentioned today,
Correa
from Lazio as well. No, he's one that even we were linked to. If they're getting the three of those, I can see them having Sanchez, Politano, and Martinez, who are already there, and then adding these three in. I mean,
I've heard it's going to be Correa instead of Zapata because Zapata's going to be a bit too expensive for them.
Oh, okay. Well, that's bad news. But still, I mean, with the amount of strikers they have there, if they are in these financial difficulties, Dzeko in this area is a fantastic striker. He's been incredible since he joined Roma. And Correa and Zapata, whoever it is, they're also reliable strikers over there. And again, they already have Politano and Sanchez. Losing Martinez isn't the worst thing in the world, especially if it saves them from these financial troubles. And there are other players in that team that you think could warrant some bit of a high fee. You have Nicolo Barella in the middle of the pitch. You have Milan Skriniar, Stefan De Vrij, Alessandro Bastoni at the back. They're players who you could think systematically are probably more important to that interside. So if you're looking at players that they can lose from their team this year, Martinez, as good as he is, probably in a systematic point of view or in a tactical point of view, isn't the worst player that they could lose there. So I can see him moving on this summer. It's just whether Tottenham can convince him that we're the right team. And if we're...
Are you confident, Matt, that this will go through?
I'd say I'm confident he'll leave Inter Milan, but whether he comes to Spurs, I'm not as confident. But I still do think I still am more confident than not, if that makes sense. Alistair Cole has said he's keen on the move. And the fact that Tottenham went in with an opening bid of £65 million shows that we're not messing about. Because when Tottenham never got in with a closing bid of £65 million, it is it's a game changer for Tottenham, and I'd be absolutely shocked, and I think we'd be absolute idiots if we didn't go back in with a higher bid of 70 or 75 million. Because Martinez, he scored 17 goals in the Serie A last season, 10 assists.
19, I believe, yeah.
Oh, 19, even more. He's still only 23. He has a lot of developing to do, and
he's got friends here. He's got Lo Celso, he's got Romero.
Yeah, and if Fabio Paratici is handpicking these players out of the Serie A, well, I damn trust him to get the right ones.
Yeah, definitely. But do you think the Lukaku deal might have added a bit of money onto his price tag? Because I think it's true. You think it's true that we actually did have a deal agreed before the Lukaku deal came about? Because I think that Lukaku deal probably came out of nowhere for Inter. I don't think they expected it. And that's why they said he was non-transferable. Then they got a £100 million bid. Like, okay, we've got to sell him now. But do you think that 60 million that was accepted, now Lukaku deal happening, that probably adds how much do you think onto the price tag for Martinez?
I think it could add 10 or 15 million. And to be honest, I think Inter Milan are probably just using this to get a bit more money. Like I don't think they feel the valuation of the player has gone up because they're losing a player or something like that. It's just a way they can say to Spurs, well, actually, we're losing Lukaku, so we need another 10, 15 million. But I'd say 75 million max is what we have to pay. And for Spurs, I mean, it's a lot more money than, for most teams. But look, I think he's worth it, especially if you want to show a bit of intent and a bit of ambition, I suppose, not only to the players that are already at the team, but if you're looking for example, a Tomiyasu who may have interest from Tottenham and Arsenal and somewhere else. I know reportedly he doesn't, but if you're looking at Arsenal signing Ben White for 50 million, going in for Ramsdale for 30 million, but then you see Spurs paying 50 for Romero and paying 75 for Martinez, having just brought in Paratici, you're thinking, well, Spurs are going somewhere. Yeah. And they're showing this intent. And if players like Lautaro Martinez are willing to step out of a Champions League side, step out of a title-winning side, reject Atletico Madrid and move to Spurs, well, there has to be something going right there. And I think on the pitch it's fantastic, but off the pitch could be huge for Tottenham as well.
Oh, are we not in dreamland thinking we're going to spend 75 million on Martinez without selling Kane? Is that not just a fantasy?
It could be. It depends how much.
It seems like a fantasy to me. It does seem like a fantasy.
Like you've used. It's true when you bog down to Martinez could leave and we have had this bid and all. But I actually think about Spurs spending £75 million on a player without selling Kane. Is that actually a reality spot we could be considering? I don't know if it is.
Here we are. that's all I'll say. Yeah, it seems bizarre, but. It just feels real, if that makes sense. Like it just feels like this is something that could go ahead. And
Dybala also felt real, Matt.
It did.
Oh, so real. Oh, so real it felt.
But look, I mean, 2-3 years ago, you said, "Oh, well, Jose Mourinho's not going to come to Spurs." You said, "Oh, Gareth Bale's not going to come back." A lot has happened at this club in the last few years, and it seems the worse we get on the pitch, the more outrageous things we do off the pitch, which is kind of crazy. But look. Paratici is apparently the man who's convinced Daniel Levy that it's worth taking a risk on Martinez. And again, I trust him with my life.
Look, at the end of the day, with your life, bloody
Love
hell,
it.
we're gonna have to see how this one plays out, because we definitely haven't heard the end of it. Before we let you go, Steven Bergwijn, has he been a flop or not?
I think he's in that beautiful middle ground. You guys,
That's exactly what I said. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he's a flop, because he started out really well for us. First of all, it was like his first 4 games at White Hart Lane or something. He scored, including that beautiful volley against Manchester City. I think I agreed with one of the super chats that came in there that he's just been played kind of out of the position you'd expect him to be in. He's really defensive last year in that Mourinho style, and I feel there was a while there when we needed a defensive right winger. Bergwijn was the player we went for, so he didn't quite have that output in terms of goals and assists, as we all know. Same amount of goals in the league as Alisson last year. Love that stat. But he did a job for us quite consistently, and I felt like he was really going somewhere. But that game against Liverpool set him back so much when he missed those 2 chances, and obviously cost us the game there and potentially a place at the top of the table for Christmas. But look, he's still young. Like you said, Eredivisie players adapting to the Premier League doesn't always work out. I think we did get lucky in those 2 players you mentioned, like Eriksen, Vertonghen, Alderweireld. But within those players, you always have a Janssen. You always have you could argue Bergwijn, who's taken a while to adapt. But I think it would be foolish to not give him that chance. And you'd have to remember as well, look at all the different kind of things that have happened since he came in. He came in and kind of wasn't at the peak of Jose Mourinho. Then all of a sudden we had the worst of Jose Mourinho. Then we have Ryan Mason. And now we're starting again with a new manager, with a new style, with a new system. And that's going to prolong that time it takes him to adapt twofold. So give him a chance. I see where he goes. He's still young, still has a lot of learning and developing to do. And I don't think he's been a flop, but I don't think he's been a success either.
If we sold him this summer, Matt, would he have been a flop? If you look back at his time at Spurs, if we have sold him this summer, is he a flop?
It depends on who we get in with that money.
No, forget that. I'm looking if Spurs sell Bergwijn,
he really wants you to say yes, Matt. He really wants you to say yes.
I'm playing devil's advocate. All I'm saying is, if Tottenham has sold Bergwijn this summer for 25 million to Ajax, would you have considered his time at Tottenham a failure?
No.
You wouldn't have.
But I don't quite believe what I've just said.
That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I agree with everything you said. Everything you said I think is spot on. I completely agree with it. I'm just saying right now, as of today, August 11th, at 12:20, he has been a flop.
But 12:22, he won't be anymore.
Who knows?
That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying he's going to finish his Tottenham career a flop. I'm saying right now, he's been a flop, and I think the jury is out, and he has to kind of prove to us that he's not going to be a flop. That's just how I see it. But I think you're spot on in everything you said.
I think the jury is definitely still out, but I don't think flop is the right word.
That's fair.
I think it is. I mean, it's harsh, but unfortunately, I do think it is. That's just my opinion. I love Bergwijn. I think he's a good player.
Only time will tell exactly.
I think he's a good player, but I just think right now he's a flop. That's all I'm saying. Anyway,
Matt, absolute pleasure having you on as always, my friend. And yeah, big up to you and your channel.
Strength
onwards
to strength.
and upwards, man.
Yeah, thankfully it's going well at the moment. But
it is going well.
Sure
Big up. Everyone go and subscribe to Matt Hayes. Absolutely brilliant Spurs content. And there is only one way he is going, and that is up. So big up
forward
yourself,
to more
Matt.
Hayes we goes in the future.
Exactly. We're waiting for it today. We're waiting for it today.
Exactly.
I'll let you know as soon as I can.
I'm going to start spamming your Twitter every time you tweet Spurs news. Martinez news.
I'm getting DMs now with Martinez news, and I feel like I've made it. This is the pinnacle. It's just all down from here.
Kane contract, we're going to start spamming Matt.
We got to get Hayes we go trending next time when we sign Martinez.
100%.
I'm trusting you to do that.
Matt, we'll speak to you soon, bro.
Thanks, Willie, guys. Talk to you soon.
Nice one. See you.
Bye. I think we have run out of time today.
Is that it?
Yeah, because it's nearly 12:30.
Okay.
I'm going to end the poll. Can I see the results of the poll once I've ended it? I can't see it.
I can see it now. I can see the poll.
I can't see
65%. Oh, it's gone there.
That's
it's
what
gone
I'm
now.
saying.
It was 65%.
Oh, it's here in the chat. 1,400 votes. 65 saying no. 34 saying yes.
All right.
So look, I think it's. We'll see how it goes from then on. We'll see how it goes. But look, that is your Good Morning Tottenham for today. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We'll be back today with some more content, some more preview content for the brand new season ahead. Not long to go till the season starts now. Man City at home on Sunday, 4:30 kickoff. I cannot wait. But look, we'll see you very soon. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.